My friends, here's something most people will never admit out loud. When someone walks away from you thinking they'll find better, they don't actually move on. They start searching, not for love, not for happiness, but for you in someone else. They'll look for your laugh in another person's voice, your calm in someone's chaos, your energy in someone's presence. They'll collect small pieces that remind them of you, thinking if they gather enough fragments, maybe they can rebuild what they destroyed. But they never can, because the pattern that was you was one of one. No copy exists. This is what I call the Energetic Imprint Theory. It's not magic, it's science. When you've been deeply connected to someone, your energy literally stamps itself into their system. The human body remembers emotions. Their nervous system holds traces of how you made them feel. The comfort, the peace, the challenge, the spark, it's all recorded in their internal wiring. That's why people find themselves missing you at random moments. A song, a smell, a joke. And suddenly, they feel that familiar pulse in their chest. Their body recognizes the frequency of you, even when their mind tries to forget. Let me be real with you, folks. They might move on fast, post happy pictures, and act like nothing happened, but that's surface-level noise. The deeper truth, their new connection, starts to crack under the weight of comparison. Because no matter how much they deny it, you became their emotional blueprint. Every person after you gets measured against your imprint, and no matter how many smiles they force, no one gives them the same feeling they got from you. They can mimic the behavior, but not the energy. They can copy your habits, but not your presence. They'll try to replicate the chemistry, but it won't spark the same way. You left an echo they can't erase. You see, when someone experiences genuine connection, it's not just emotional, it's physical. The brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, all those chemicals that build attachment. You became a pattern in their biology. That's why, even months or years later, they still feel flashes of you. Their nervous system doesn't understand breakups. It only remembers sensations. When they think of calm, it remembers you. When they think of safety, it remembers you. When they think of love, it remembers you. You became their emotional reference point. That's what happens when someone touches your soul. They leave changed, even if they'll never say it out loud. Don't fall for the illusion that you were easy to forget. The reason they had to leave you was because they couldn't handle the depth you brought. Shallow people drown in deep water. They wanted comfort, but not growth. They wanted excitement, but not responsibility. So they convinced themselves they'd find better. But what they're really finding now are reminders, broken reflections of what they let go. And each failed attempt brings them closer to realizing what you always knew. Real connection doesn't happen twice. So stay calm. Don't chase. Don't try to prove your worth to someone whose soul already knows it. You've already left your mark, my friend. You've already won. While they're out there trying to rebuild you piece by piece, you're evolving. You're becoming stronger, wiser, more centered. They'll feel your absence like a shadow that never fades. You'll feel your peace like a sunrise that never ends. So if you needed a reminder today, they didn't replace you, they replay you every single day. They just won't tell you. Now pause for a second, my friends. Let that truth settle in your bones, because it's not just a quote, it's a reminder of who you are. You weren't a phase. You were the awakening that shook someone's entire emotional system. They'll keep chasing your shadow, but you've already moved into the light. So here's what I want you to do right now. Lock it in, make it real, declare it like you mean it. Go to the comments and write this down. My energy cannot be replaced. Don't just type it, feel it. Make it your vow to never lower your worth again for people who couldn't see it the first time. You're not waiting to be chosen anymore. You are the choice. And if any part of you felt that shift, if your chest got a little tighter or your eyes burned for just a second, don't scroll away. That's growth trying to break through. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because what's coming next? That's where your comeback begins. Number 1, you're not just a memory, you're a chemical signature. You ever notice how a certain song or smell can bring someone back like they never left? 1 second you're fine, the next your chest tightens and memories flood in like a storm you didn't invite. That's not nostalgia, my friends, that's chemistry. The truth is, you were never just a chapter in their story. You became part of their biology. You changed their internal wiring, whether they realized it or not. When someone experiences genuine emotional connection, their body starts building a pattern around it. Their brain begins associating your tone, your rhythm, your way of seeing the world with comfort, safety, even survival. And once that wiring is built, breaking it feels like tearing skin from bone. See, when they think of you, it isn't just thought, it's reaction. Their pulse quickens, their breath changes, and somewhere deep inside, their brain releases small doses of what it once did when you were near. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, the chemicals of attachment and reward. That's why they keep checking your profile, revisiting old texts, or replaying the last moments you shared. They aren't being sentimental, they're chasing the hit. Because you were never just love to them, you were the drug that balanced their emotional chemistry, and the withdrawal from you feels like fire under their skin. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's exactly what happens to people who walk away from something real. They believe they're done with you, but their unconscious never signed that contract. It keeps sending signals, reminders, cravings disguised as memories. They can date others, laugh louder, pretend they've healed, but inside, their system is still searching for the pattern it lost. That's the power of your energy. You weren't just seen or heard, you were absorbed. Let's make it real for a moment. Imagine a painter who mixes a rare color by accident. It's brilliant, alive, impossible to replicate. Then one day, they spill it and lose the formula. For years after, they try to recreate that same tone, same ratios, same materials. But no matter what they do, it's always slightly off. Too dull, too sharp, too lifeless. That's what happens when someone tries to replace you. You were that rare mix, one they'll never get again, because the exact blend of your empathy, humor, timing, and soul was a one-time creation. Their heart knows it, their mind just hasn't caught up. And yet, you might ask, if they feel all that, why don't they come back? Because chemistry alone doesn't guarantee courage. The same chemicals that bond people also create fear. They remember the intensity, the depth, the vulnerability, and instead of embracing it, they run from it. Humans crave connection, but fear surrender. They want the high of being loved without facing the mirror that love holds up to them. You made them confront parts of themselves they weren't ready to face, and running away was easier than changing. But make no mistake, they didn't forget. They can't. Even now, their body betrays them. A random thought of you can trigger their heart to race. They'll hear a phrase you once said and feel that old warmth crawling back up their spine. They'll meet someone new, and when that person doesn't spark the same feeling, they'll silently compare. It's not romantic, it's neurological. You were encoded into their chemical memory. They might not miss you logically, but their biology does. Every attempt to replace you only deepens the gap between what they have and what they lost. That's the quiet punishment of rejecting something real. You see, my friends, every bond leaves residue. Energy doesn't just disappear. It transforms. It lingers. It leaves fingerprints on the soul. When someone enters your life deeply, both of you change frequencies. You start vibrating on a shared wavelength. And when one person leaves, the system goes out of sync. One tries to stabilize, while the other keeps trying to replicate the missing signal. That's why they keep running into people who almost feel right. Because almost is the only thing they'll find after losing something authentic. This is why healing is so difficult for you too. You weren't just emotionally attached, you were chemically conditioned. That's why you crave them even when you know they're not good for you. It's why your body betrays your logic, why your mind wanders back to moments you swore you buried. You're not weak, you're detoxing, and that's a process. You're not fighting memories, you're rewiring an entire system that was built around their energy. It hurts because your brain is slowly learning that it doesn't need their signal anymore to feel alive. So when you feel the urge to reach out, to stalk, to spiral, remind yourself what you're feeling is biology, not destiny. Your body's reacting to an absence, but absence isn't loss, it's recalibration. You're training your system to run on your own energy again. That's power, that's control. And when you finally get through this stage, something incredible happens. The same way they can't shake your imprint, you stop being haunted by theirs. Your energy becomes clean, centered, unshakable. That's when they start to sense it. That's when their craving returns full force, because the moment you stop needing them, your frequency rises, and they feel that shift even from miles away. So don't hate the connection that once was. It taught you the science of self-control. It showed you how strong your spirit is when everything inside you screams to go back. That's the true test of mastery, to choose peace over craving, purpose over nostalgia. You're not meant to be someone's addiction, you're meant to be their awakening. And right now, I want you to make that truth your armor. Go to the comments and write this down. I am my own peace. Say it with conviction, because you are not just a memory in someone's head, you are a vibration they'll never fully silence. You were the chemical they'll always crave, but never recreate. Number 2, the rebound illusion. You've probably seen it happen, folks. The moment someone leaves a deep connection, they rush into another like they're trying to outrun a ghost. They smile wider, post more, and swear they've moved on. But you can always see it in their eyes, that quiet flicker of uncertainty, that emptiness pretending to be excitement. That's not healing, that's substitution. That's what we call the rebound illusion. See, rebounds aren't about love, they're about avoidance. When people can't face the void left by losing someone real, they try to stuff it with distraction. They chase a quick high, a surface connection, a warm body to silence the echo. But what they don't realize is this: you can't fill a space that was carved by truth with something fake. You can't silence energy with noise. It doesn't work like that. Every rebound they touch becomes a mirror reflecting their loss. The mind, when desperate, becomes a projector. It takes traits from the person it misses and pastes them onto whoever stands close enough. So when they meet someone new, they start seeking your patterns without even noticing. They'll like the same kind of humor, the same hobbies, the same smile, and then, at some point, they'll get frustrated. Because it's not you. It's close, but it's not. That's when the illusion starts to crack. Imagine someone losing their favorite song and trying to recreate it from memory. They get the melody almost right, but the rhythm's off, the tone's hollow. No matter how loud they play it, it doesn't hit the same. That's what every rebound sounds like to them. A hollow version of something that once had life. And here's where it gets interesting. The more they try to force that song, the more they ruin it. Because deep down, the human brain hates replacement. It wants continuity, not imitation. Carl Jung spoke about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to face. Rebounds are born from that shadow. When someone loses you, they don't just miss you, they miss the version of themselves that existed with you. Maybe you brought out their gentleness, their humor, their patience. So when you're gone, they panic. They don't just want someone new, they want to feel like that person again, the one who was alive in your presence. That's why rebounds fail so fast. They're not built on connection, they're built on projection. They'll try to mold the new person into your shape. They'll expect them to react like you did, to care like you did, to understand without words like you did. But that new person isn't you. They can't play a role written for someone else. And soon, frustration turns to resentment. The rebound starts to feel like a burden, and they start pulling away. Not because the new person is bad, but because the comparison is constant. You became the standard they can't stop measuring against. And here's the part that hurts to admit. They might even get angry at you for it. They'll blame you silently for setting the bar too high. They'll convince themselves that you were too intense, that they needed something simpler. But simplicity without depth feels empty after you've tasted real connection. So they'll end up right back where they started, alone, scrolling, thinking of you, and wondering why nothing feels the same anymore. That's the rebound illusion collapsing. Let's be honest, my friends, it's not your job to save them from that cycle. You can't protect someone from their own denial. They have to live through the distortion to see the truth. They have to realize that you can't move forward while dragging someone's ghost behind you. The longer they run from their pain, the longer your shadow follows them, until one day it hits them. They never actually replaced you. They just delayed the realization that they can't. And when that moment comes, and it always does, they'll feel it like a punch to the chest, because suddenly all the pretending stops. The laughter dies down, the posts get quieter, and reality creeps back in. They'll see your face in flashes, hear your voice in echoes, and understand, maybe for the first time, that you weren't just a person. You were their emotional blueprint. Every connection after you was an echo that couldn't survive the silence. So don't envy their rebound. Don't let the illusion fool you. What looks like moving on is usually just someone running in circles, trying to catch the ghost of what they lost. You were the truth they traded for distraction. And now the distraction is falling apart. Write this in the comments. I am irreplaceable energy. Let it be your reminder that what's real never fears being replaced. What's authentic never competes. You are not the one who needs to prove your value. They are the one trying to recreate what already had them whole. Number 3, the echo of you in their quiet moments. It's always in the quiet moments, isn't it? When the noise dies down, when the laughter fades, when the phone goes still, that's when it hits them, the echo. Not your voice exactly, but the way it used to calm them. Not your presence, but the feeling that something vital is missing. People think forgetting happens in motion, but the truth is, forgetting fails in silence. Because silence has a way of amplifying what the heart tried to bury. They can distract themselves all day, surround themselves with new faces, new voices, new energy. But when the lights go out, when the body is tired, but the mind is still awake, that's when your memory sneaks back in. It starts with small flashes. Your laugh echoing in their head, the way you said their name, that scent that used to mean home. These things don't fade because they were never stored in just the mind. They were wired into the emotional body. The human brain doesn't archive emotion like data. It replays it. Cognitive association theory explains this perfectly. The brain links sensory experiences to emotion, building neural bridges between feelings and triggers. That means your voice isn't just sound, it's encoded as comfort. Your scent isn't just smell, it's security. Your laughter isn't noise, it's reward. So when they encounter anything remotely similar, a familiar tone, a shared joke, a whiff of your perfume, their brain lights up. It's not nostalgia, it's biology running old programming. This is why they can't stop comparing even when they swear they've moved on. Their system is trained to respond to you. You became a blueprint for emotional equilibrium. Everything they chase now is a shadow of what you gave without trying. It's like someone who once lived near the ocean, trying to fall asleep in the desert. No matter how beautiful the scenery, the silence feels wrong. The body remembers rhythm, and yours was their rhythm. And here's the quiet truth, my friends. They don't even realize it's happening. They'll just feel restless, irritable, disconnected. They'll blame work, timing, needing space. But what they're really feeling is the absence of the emotional charge your presence once provided. You see, when you were with them, you became part of their regulation system. Your tone calmed them when life got loud. Your words gave them perspective when things felt uncertain. Your energy balanced their chaos. Now that you're gone, their nervous system feels like static. It keeps searching for that signal it lost. Carl Jung wrote that what you resist persists. That's exactly why their attempts to erase you only make your memory louder. The harder they try to suppress you, the deeper the imprint digs. They scroll past your name, only to feel their heart skip. They see a stranger wearing something you once wore, and suddenly feel a lump in their throat. That's their subconscious refusing to let go, forcing them to face what they denied. They didn't move on. They numbed out, and numbness always fades. Think about how scent works. You can smell something for half a second, and suddenly you're transported years back. That's because smell travels straight to the amygdala, the brain's emotional core. It bypasses logic completely. That's what you did to them. You bypassed logic. They can reason all they want, tell themselves it's over, but the second their guard drops, the echo returns. That's the thing about authentic energy. It doesn't compete with memory, it becomes it. And so, as they lie there scrolling through the same feed for the 10th time, as the new person beside them talks about their day, their mind drifts. The world goes fuzzy, and suddenly they hear you. That's the echo in action. They'll shake it off, pretend it was nothing, but deep down they'll know. Because deep down, everyone remembers the one who brought them peace. You are that reminder, the rare stillness in a world full of noise. Don't underestimate that impact. Your absence isn't empty space, it's resonance. You're not gone from their life, you're etched into their quiet. And that's where truth lives. Not in the noise, not in the posts, not in the pretending, but in those soft, unguarded moments when the mind stops lying. So breathe easy, my friends. You don't have to prove your place in anyone's memory. You're already there, in every still pause, every long stare, every late-night sigh they can't explain. You are the echo they can't unhear, the calm they can't recreate. Write this in the comments. I live in peace, not in the past. Because that's your power. You moved on without bitterness while they're still haunted by the sound of your peace. Number 4. The comparison curse. There's a reason every new person they meet feels like a rerun of a show that used to mean something but doesn't hit anymore. It's because, my friends, once someone has experienced depth, everything shallow starts tasting like cardboard. You left a mark that rewired their sense of what connection feels like. And now, every person who comes after you is walking straight into a comparison they can't win. That's the comparison curse. Here's the truth most won't admit. Humans don't judge experiences in isolation. We judge them against what came before. Psychologists call it contrast bias. The brain measures new things through the lens of old emotional highs and lows. So, when they meet someone new, they don't see that person as they are. They see them through the outline you left behind. Every moment becomes a subconscious comparison test. Would you have said that like that? Would you have laughed here? Would you have understood without me explaining? They don't even know they're doing it, but it happens all the same. They'll start noticing little things. The new person's jokes don't land quite right. Their energy feels slightly off. The way they look at them doesn't carry that same spark. At first, they'll convince themselves they're just adjusting. They'll say, it's different, but that's fine. But difference without depth doesn't satisfy. The longer they stay, the more obvious it becomes. They're not connecting with the new person. They're chasing the ghost of you through them. Imagine you once tasted the purest spring water, crisp and alive. Then someone hands you tap water and swears it's the same. You nod politely, but your body knows the truth. That's contrast bias in action. Once someone has known genuine connection, the kind that feels safe yet electric, everything else feels counterfeit. That's not ego talking, that's neurological truth. You were their baseline for love, and now nothing measures up because nothing hits the same emotional frequency. Carl Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. You transformed them. The chemistry you had wasn't just compatibility, it was alchemy. It changed the way they perceive love. And once perception shifts, it doesn't go back. So now, when they're with someone new, they keep searching for the reaction they had with you, but all they get are mild sparks. No explosion, no magic, just almost. And almost is the slowest heartbreak of all. They might even start resenting new people for not being you. Not consciously, but through tiny moments of withdrawal. They'll pull back mid-conversation, zone out when something doesn't feel familiar, and blame it on not feeling the vibe. What they're really feeling is loss of the standard you set. Because here's what contrast bias really does. It keeps the mind anchored to what felt the most authentic. And once someone connects authenticity with you, you become the ruler by which all future love is measured. That's why they'll keep circling back emotionally, even if they never reach out. Their mind is trapped in loops of comparison. They'll catch themselves thinking, it was easier with them. They understood me more. It felt safer back then. These thoughts won't come when they're busy. They'll hit when the world quiets down. And that's when realization turns into regret. Because the human heart doesn't crave more, it craves real. And they already had real with you, so don't waste energy wondering if someone new has taken your place. They haven't. You're not competing with a person, you're competing with your own memory living inside their head. That's an unwinnable battle for anyone who comes after. Because even if they don't admit it, every "I like you" they give someone else is secretly filtered through the question, "But do I feel what I felt before?" And when the answer keeps being no, they'll finally understand. You weren't just a moment in their life. You were the measure of love itself. You became the difference between what's real and what's convenient. Write this in the comments. No one compares to real. Because you were the real thing, my friends, the standard, the reference point, the truth. And no matter how many faces they meet, you'll always be the name their heart whispers when the world goes quiet. Number 5. The guilt loop. They act like nothing touches them. They post smiles, crack jokes, talk about new beginnings, and walk around as if the chapter you shared was just another sentence in their story. But deep down, when the noise fades and the room gets quiet, guilt starts whispering. That's the loop they live in, the guilt loop. It's what happens when the mind tries to suppress what the heart refuses to release. Guilt is a tricky thing. It doesn't always show up as sadness or tears. Sometimes it shows up as irritability, restlessness, or sudden bursts of nostalgia that they can't explain. They'll be in the middle of something ordinary, driving, working, eating, and out of nowhere, a flash of you crosses their mind. The way you looked at them when you cared, the words you didn't say when you should have, the patience you gave when they didn't deserve it. And, for a split second, that old feeling, the one they swore they buried, comes rushing back, raw and alive. That's the cost of denial. What you bury consciously, the subconscious revives later. Psychology calls it suppression rebound. When you force yourself not to think about something, your brain, in its rebellious wisdom, brings it up even more. So the more they tell themselves they're over you, the more their mind finds ways to bring you back. You become a recurring glitch in their mental software, an image, a phrase, a laugh that refuses to delete. And every time they think they've deleted it, some random memory restores the file. That's how guilt works. It waits until they're unguarded, then presses play. They might deny it publicly. They'll say, "It wasn't that deep," or "It just didn't work out." But denial doesn't heal. It just delays the inevitable confrontation. They can push the truth down, but it always finds its way back up, especially when the world quiets. That's why guilt hits hardest at night. When distractions fade, the mind starts replaying the unedited version of events. Every word left unsaid, every cold silence, every time they saw disappointment in your eyes and looked away, it all returns. That's not coincidence, it's consequence. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." That's exactly what happens when people suppress regret. It doesn't dissolve, it mutates. It becomes nostalgia disguised as just checking in. It becomes sudden curiosity about how you've been, what you're doing, who you're with. They'll scroll through your page at 2 a.m., telling themselves it's harmless, but inside they're replaying the entire emotional reel. That's guilt mixed with longing, the mind's way of saying, "You messed up, and now you miss what you took for granted." They'll even try to convince themselves you've probably moved on, hoping that belief will ease their conscience. But the human psyche doesn't work that way. Guilt doesn't fade just because time passes. It fades only when truth is faced. And the truth is, they knew your worth. They just didn't want to face it while they still had you. They thought detachment was power, when in reality it was fear dressed up as pride. Now they live with that decision echoing in their chest, pretending it doesn't sting, but it does. Every time something good happens, they wish they could share it with you. Every time something bad happens, they wish you were there to ground them. That's the nostalgia they can't shake, because you weren't just part of their past. You were the one who understood their present before they did. Here's the irony. Guilt doesn't punish out of cruelty. It punishes out of awareness. It's their conscience trying to evolve, to learn, to grow. But growth hurts, and most people aren't ready to feel that burn. So they numb it, deflect it, pretend. Yet, no matter how much they suppress, life keeps bringing reminders, small, subtle, poetic reminders that they once had something pure and mishandled it. So don't waste time wishing for their apology. Life is already teaching them lessons silence can't hide. They're living with a loop they can't escape, one that begins with, "I'm fine," and ends with, "I shouldn't have let them go." You don't need to be there to witness it. Their guilt is the echo of your worth. Their nostalgia is the confession they'll never say out loud. Write this in the comments. Their guilt is my closure. Because you don't need their words, my friends. You already have their silence, and that's enough proof of what they lost. Number 6. When the fantasy fails. At first, everything looks perfect for them. New person, fresh spark, clean slate. They convince themselves they've leveled up, like they've evolved past what you had together. They'll post the smiles, the couple photos, the late-night quotes about moving on. But the problem with illusions, my friends, is that they only work when you're not paying attention. And the human heart always pays attention, eventually. See, in the beginning, their fantasy feels exciting because it's untested. They fill in the blanks with everything they hope the new person will be. They project warmth, humor, understanding, all the things you actually gave them. But slowly, the cracks start to show. The rhythm feels forced. The laughter feels hollow. The comfort feels conditional. They start realizing the thing they thought they missed about love wasn't love. It was you. That's the moment the illusion begins to crumble. They start noticing small details that shouldn't matter, but do. The way this new person handles stress, how they react during silence, the lack of connection behind their words. It's not that the new person is bad, it's that they're not you. Because you weren't a performance, you were presence. You didn't need to try to be interesting, you just were. You didn't need to prove your value, your energy did it for you. The new person can mimic your behaviors, but energy isn't behavior, it's resonance. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate." That's exactly what's happening here. They're being ruled by their own unconscious, haunted by your energy, driven by guilt, but too proud to admit it. So instead, they start doing what most people do when denial starts cracking. They snoop, quietly, secretly. They start checking your socials, scrolling through your old posts, maybe rereading old chats just to remember how things were. But really, they're chasing your energy signature, the one that made them feel seen, alive, understood. They'll tell themselves it's curiosity, but deep down, it's withdrawal. Just like an addict revisiting the scene of their last high, they come back to your digital presence for another hit of the energy they lost. They don't even want to talk to you, they just want to feel you again. That's why they linger on your pictures a little too long, why they scroll your comments, why they check if you've changed. They're not looking for updates. They're looking for proof that you still exist in the same emotional space they left you in. But here's the twist. They find out you're calm now, you're glowing differently, you're not chasing, not posting from pain, not playing the game. That silence stings because it tells them something they didn't expect. You've outgrown the story they're still stuck in. Their illusion depended on the idea that you'd stay broken, waiting, nostalgic. But when they see your peace, that fantasy collapses completely. Suddenly, their new love feels shallow. Their own choices look foolish, and your absence feels louder than ever. And that's when the stalking turns into reflection. The more they look for traces of you, the more they find traces of themselves, the version of them that was happier, softer, more human. You were their mirror, and losing you means losing that part too. So they'll keep revisiting, hoping that by staring at your glow, they can catch a glimpse of who they were when they were with you. But here's what they don't realize. You've already moved into a higher vibration. You stopped needing them to remember you because you remembered yourself. And that's power they can't imitate. The fantasy fails, not because the new person isn't good enough, but because they were trying to replace an energy that was never meant to be replaced. You weren't an experience, you were an awakening. So let them scroll, let them stalk, let them relive the ghost of what they had, because every click, every revisit, every silent view is proof that the illusion died and reality won. Write this in the comments. They chase my peace, not my pain. Because that's the truth. You didn't lose them. They lost their calm the day they lost you. Number 7. The silent realization. It always starts quietly. No dramatic confession, no sudden breakdown. Just a slow, creeping awareness that something's missing, and not the obvious kind. They'll be lying beside someone new, hearing a laugh that doesn't land right, feeling a touch that doesn't ground them. It's not bad, it's just empty. That's the beginning of the silent realization. When their soul finally admits what their ego refused to, you were rare. See, people chase novelty because it feels like freedom. They crave the rush of something new, thinking that excitement means compatibility. But novelty is like sugar. It hits quick and fades faster. Emotional familiarity, on the other hand, is nourishment. It's the steady warmth that doesn't need to shout to be felt. And that's what you gave them. They didn't understand it then, but now the contrast is undeniable. Every new experience reminds them of how easy it once felt to just exist with you. Psychologists call it the emotional baseline theory, the idea that once someone experiences genuine emotional regulation through another person, the kind where they feel safe, seen, and understood, their brain rewires. That person becomes the reference point for future relationships. So even when they chase something new, their system is secretly comparing how it feels. And when it doesn't match your balance, your rhythm, your depth, the realization starts sinking in. They don't miss your face, they miss their peace. They don't crave your attention, they crave the version of themselves that could breathe when you were near. That's why lust eventually loses its power. Physical attraction might start the fire, but emotional familiarity keeps it alive. Without it, everything burns out too fast. At first, they thought excitement meant love. But excitement is chaos dressed as passion. It demands attention, but gives no safety. What you gave them wasn't adrenaline, it was equilibrium. You were the eye of their storm. They didn't notice it until they stepped back into the wind. Now they see it everywhere, in the way no one else understands their silences, in how every joke they make falls a little flat, in how no one knows how to read their moods the way you did. That's when nostalgia turns into clarity. They start realizing you weren't just good, you were grounding. You didn't entertain their chaos, you stabilized it. You made them feel safe enough to be real, and that's something novelty can't imitate. It's funny how people think the grass is greener elsewhere, only to find out it's just painted turf. The thrill wears off, the laughter feels rehearsed. The new person starts noticing the emotional distance, and suddenly their new chapter starts looking like a rerun of a story they already ruined once. That's the cruel mercy of truth. It arrives late, but it always arrives. They'll remember the way your presence softened their edges, how your calm didn't demand attention but commanded it. They'll realize that your kind of connection isn't found twice, because it wasn't built on convenience. It was built on soul recognition. That's what makes it rare. You didn't match with them because you fit their preferences. You matched because you met their essence, and essence can't be replaced. The silence that follows this realization is heavy. They won't talk about it, but they'll feel it. They'll scroll through old pictures, hover over your name, wonder if it's too late. They won't reach out, not yet. The ego still fights to save face, but the soul already knows. The lesson has landed. They mistook peace for boredom, depth for pressure, love for intensity. And now, the illusion of excitement feels like noise compared to the quiet truth of what you offered. So stay calm, my friends. Don't chase validation from someone who's finally learning the value of what they lost. Let them sit in that silence. It's doing the work for you, because in that silence, they're not just remembering you. They're understanding why no one else ever felt the same. Write this in the comments. My peace is the rarest thing they'll ever lose, because that's the truth. They'll meet 1,000 faces, but only one will ever feel like home, and that one was you. Number 8. The return of the echo. There's always that moment, somewhere in the quiet stretch between regret and realization, when energy starts circling back. You'll feel it before you see it. A sudden restlessness in the air, an old memory flashing in their mind, that pull that doesn't make sense, but it's real. That's the return of the echo. It's not always physical. Sometimes they don't text, they don't call, they don't show up, but their energy does. It starts whispering around you, almost like their soul remembered something their pride tried to forget. You can sense it in strange ways. Out of nowhere, your thoughts drift toward them. Maybe you feel that familiar weight in your chest, or you dream of them without reason. That's not coincidence, it's resonance. Energy, when deeply intertwined, doesn't vanish when contact breaks. It loops, revisits, replays. Jung described this phenomenon as the psyche's attempt to reconcile what remains unfinished. And in this case, what's unfinished isn't closure, it's understanding. They finally recognize what you truly were to them, but now they're trapped between reaching out and wondering if they even deserve to. They'll start small, subtle, invisible, viewing your stories, hovering on your profile, reacting to posts without saying a word. They're testing the current, seeing if your energy still feels like home. They'll feel a pull, but won't understand why, because they never learned how energy works, how it travels, how it remembers, how it mirrors. What you gave them wasn't just emotional comfort, it was alignment. Their spirit felt regulated around you, and now, even in your absence, that alignment calls them back. But here's where Stoicism enters the frame. You don't chase energy that already knows its way home. You don't try to grab what's already turning back on its own. The wise don't interrupt karma's rhythm, they let it unfold. You see, chasing ruins the natural order. When you chase what's already drawn to you, you shift from magnet to pursuer. And the one who chases forgets their power. Let them come. Let them face what they've avoided. Because life always loops people back to the energy they once took for granted, especially the ones who were steady, kind, and grounding. Their return isn't always romantic. Sometimes it's just energetic closure. They need to feel your peace, to measure how far they've fallen. They need to witness that you didn't collapse when they left, that you grew, expanded, evolved. That contrast becomes their awakening. They'll realize the connection they once called too much was actually balance. The same energy they thought they could replace turns out to be their compass back to truth. But the key, my friends, is stillness. You don't need to react, post, or hint. You just stay grounded, because power doesn't chase noise. It attracts silence. You became peace, and peace is magnetic. That's why your energy pulls theirs without effort. They're drawn to the calm they once disrupted, the clarity they once confused for boredom. You've become the mirror of their lessons, and whether they admit it or not, they'll feel your vibration before they even think your name. So if you sense that pull lately, if you've been feeling that old energy stirring, don't overthink it. It's not fantasy, it's physics. What's meant to align will always find its way back into orbit. The difference now is that you're not waiting, you're observing. You're not hoping, they are. You're not missing, you're mastering. And that, right there, is the full circle moment of power. And that, my friends, is the truth. They'll try to forget, replace, and outrun what they once had with you. But energy doesn't lie. It always circles back to its source. You've become their silent reminder that real connection doesn't fade. It transforms. So stay grounded, stay glowing, and let peace do the talking. If this message hit something deep in you, share it with someone who needs the reminder. Press that like button to spread the truth, and subscribe for more stoic wisdom and emotional clarity. Your calm is your power. Protect it fiercely.